One of my favourite films, and I'm sure it's one of everybody's favourite films, is of course The Matrix. I've probably watched it about 15, 20 times, maybe something like that, and that's in its entirety. I've also watched bits of it many, many times, and fallen asleep in front of it probably more times than I've watched it in its entirety. But there's a few things, there's so much I love about that film. I love the ideas of it, I love the way the narrative works. I love the kind of structuring elements, the cinematographic bits of it. Just so much about it to like, isn't there, really? But there are some bits of it I don't like. There's some bits which irritate me, like a splinter in the mind. And one bit that I don't like, one particular glitch in the Matrix, is the red pill, blue pill moment, which I've been thinking about a lot lately. Because I know you know this, but Neo, the main character, has this appointment with Morpheus, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and he's taken by Trinity to this seminal meeting where he sits down with Samuel L. Jackson, and it's a very kind of dicks on the table kind of meeting. And at a certain point, Samuel L. Jackson makes various allusions to the idea that the reality he's living in isn't quite right. And we know that Neo has already suspected this, because there's been several references to not knowing whether something's a dream or a reality or not. Whether it's mescaline is the only way to fly. Is he asleep or is he dreaming? There's been allusions to this already, so when Morpheus says this in the film, we're kind of prepared for it. Neo is presumably prepared for it as well. And at one point then, Morpheus says, "I can't explain it to you, you have to experience it for yourself," he says. And then he produces the red pill and the green and the blue pill. But why can't he explain it? That's what gets me irritated. Why? There's so many things he could have said at that point. He could have just said, "Look, Neo, you're not going to believe this, but all this reality you're living in now, the white wall of this kitchen you're sitting in, the wristwatch that I'm wearing, the clothes that I'm wearing, the camera that I'm holding in my hand, all this stuff is a fiction, and you're really kind of asleep now," he could have said. Where you actually are, where you're doing your sleeping right now, you're actually in a pod lying down, and you've been there since you were a baby. You've grown in this pod, and you've got tubes plugged into you, and all around you are millions of other human beings, all like yourselves, who've all been grown in these pods, and you're being harvested for energy. That's what's happening right now. So, and if you take this pill, that will reveal to you, and you'll fall. You won't. All this illusion will be stripped away, and you'll wake up in that pod world. You'll wake up gasping for breath in that world. And it'll be worth it, because that's the real world, the world that you and I, because this world isn't real, but you'll wake up in the real world, and we'll talk, because other people have done it before, and I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll find the authenticity of that world exciting. So what do you think? Are you going to take the red pill or the blue pill? Now, you could have said that, and that would have been more honest, wouldn't it, really? I mean, you could even have kind of cited example, because that film was made in 98, 99, released in 99. So you could have said, look, I know it's hard to believe, but look, imagine films like Total Recall. He said, have you seen the film Total Recall? He could have said, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, based on a Philip K. Dick book. Have you seen that film? The lead character in that film, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, thinks he's in one world, then he finds out he's actually plugged into a virtual reality construct, and it's another world, and then he actually finds out that it's a third construct, so even the world that he wakes up into isn't real either. But you've seen that, yeah? So you're familiar with the idea, Neo, of people, completely being absorbed in a world and then finding out later that it's not like that? Well, that's what this world's like. It feels real, doesn't it? But it's not really. And these pills will reveal that. Yeah? He could have said that. He could have pointed to all the fiction, the Philip K. Dick stuff that I've talked about, because a lot of Philip K. Dick deals with the idea of what reality is, or Stanislaw Lem, who I really like, who's a Polish author, who wrote this really nice short story called it's a short novel really, called The Futurological Congress, which is the same kind of idea, but in that one it's pharmaceutical rather than technological. You take different pills, and the pills produce a different kind of reality, different chemicals produce different realities. He could have cited that. He said, yeah, read the film, read the Futurological Congress, and that's kind of what we're in right now. This is the reality that's being pulled over your eyes. And then make the decision about the red pill and the blue pill. I mean, he could have even looked to the future. Let's presume, because he has pretty good access to oracular powers, doesn't he, and the oracle itself. He could have looked to the future and looked at films like Inception, you know, and said, no, in a few years' time there'll be this film called Inception. This is the plot of it. You go into a dream, and then you go into a dream inside a dream, and then you go into inside a dream, inside a dream, inside a dream, and you're not quite sure whether you're dreaming or awake or not. And the people who are in those dreams don't really know if they're awake or not. Yeah, that he could have said that, you know, I'm sure. That would have been, I mean, that would have certainly been more honest than just saying, I can't explain it to you. You have to experience it for yourself. You know, with that gravitas that he has, he could have said that. I don't know why he didn't do that, because it is a bit out of order. I mean, because that other character in the film, Cypher, you know, the guy who's portrayed as a bad guy, who kind of goes rogue and shoots a few people in the real world of Zion. I've got a lot to say about the real world of Zion, by the way. He kind of goes rogue and shoots people, and he says at some point, you know, we were tricked. We were tricked. You know, I want to go back to the world of the Matrix. You know, I preferred in there, you know, with your red pill, blue pill bullshit. You know, he didn't tell us what it was going to be like, and he was right. He was sold a bill of goods. You know, the real world, as portrayed in the film at least, isn't for everybody. For some reason they've got submarines, but they don't seem to be able to knit jumpers properly. Yeah, it's very bizarre. So I just think the whole thing was very dishonest on Morpheus's part. And just ignored the whole history of cinema and of literature which led up to that point. So yeah, so every time I watch the film it gets to that point. I just kind of scream at the DVD. Tell him, Philip K. Dick, Stanislaw Lem, tell him. He doesn't know.